Okay, so our next move is to create this loop, this moving bat and our loop. Okay, so I'm going to put in a comment here, and that's just going to say move left to right and loop at end of stage. Okay, and it just tells us what we're doing here. Okay, so this is going to be happening once we get our start game broadcast. Okay, so we're going to go when I receive start game. Okay, I'm going to basically forever move this guy off to the right. Okay, so we're going to go to motion and we're going to be changing our X position. Here, change X. We're going to change it by 5 to start. Okay, and we're going to be doing this forever. Okay, so we'll go to control forever until we stop it. Okay, and so if I do that, off he goes. Okay, but that's not yet what we need. That's part of it. But we need to have that loop happening. Okay, so let's reposition this guy. Okay, I put him over here, and I click this thing here forever. Off he goes to the right, and that's okay. But we need to be paying attention because this is still running, you can see. And we need to say, okay, you're at this point, we need to now bring you back over here. Okay, so we're going to do that with an if statement. Okay, bring this guy back. And so what we need to do there, and you'll need to do this on your own, is figure out what position he's at over here. Okay, and so we're going to go over to our positions here, and we're going to turn on our Y position. Okay, X position, sorry, X position. Okay, so what we can see is X position right now is negative 150. When I run this is going to change. And we want to figure out, so it's at 244 where things stop moving. Okay, well, so what we're going to do is we're going to create an if statement that says if our X position is greater than 200 and let's say 242 or 243, if that occurs, then let's set that X position back over to here. Okay, so we're going to go to an if statement here. Okay, and we're going to say this is all going to happen after as this is happening. Okay, so it's going to be changing this, and then if our X position, so we're going to go up here to our X position. We're going to drag that over. If our X position, we need an operator, and we're going to say a greater than operator here. So if our X position is greater than, and I think it's a 243, and let's just make it 242 to be safe. Okay, if it's greater than that, we'll put that in here. Then we want to reset that X position way back over to here. Okay, so we're going to say set X to, and we'll go to negative 2. Let's make it the same, 242. Okay, and we'll stick this in here. All right, so now what's going to happen is it's going to change by 5 continually, and every time it does, it's going to check if it's greater than 242. It's not. Let's reset it. Right now it's not, right? It is negative 150, okay? And it's going to change it until it is greater than that. So let's run that. Okay, 240, and it bumps it back over to here. Okay, now you may have to check your number to get it exact, but what you want it to look like is it only goes so far to the right and then it stops. So you don't want there to be any lag there. You don't want there to be any delay. Okay, so as soon as it gets to that point, reset it over to here. Okay, so that's good. Let's pause that. Okay, so this is all going to happen once the game starts, right? So we broadcast start game, and that's when this is going to happen. So if I start my flying and I reposition this guy, as soon as he's repositioned, he says start game, and now our bat starts moving across our screen. Okay, so that is all working the way we want it. Okay, now we need to start thinking about sort of next steps. Let's stop that. Okay, now we don't actually need this here, so I can actually turn this off by unclicking our X position. Scratch will continue to record or keep that information, so this will still work whether or not we're looking at the X position or not. This all still works. Okay, all right. Now there's a couple things that are not happening yet. First of all, we still need to, let's take a look here. We still need to allow our users to move the arrow key, or use the arrow keys to go up and down. We need to check if the bat is, if the bat is touching that line. Okay, we'll be watching for that. And also, before any of that, we need to make this get faster. Okay, so we're going to introduce some variables. Let's pause that there. Okay, so we have to include two new variables. So let's go down to our variables here. And the variables we're going to be creating are going to be, one is our laps and one is our speed. Okay, so you'll see here we've got speed and laps. Okay, and let's see how that's going to work. So I'm going to create a new variable. I'm going to call it speed and another new variable called laps. Okay, and at the beginning of our game, we're going to set laps to 0 and we're going to set speed to 5. Now you notice that the number I'm using here is the same number I'm using here. And the reason is I'm going to be changing, I don't want this to stay static. I want to change it every time my loop occurs. So I'm going to be updating my speed every time it loops. So what I want to put in here, instead of changing x by a static number that can't change, instead I'm going to change it by speed. And what that means is I set it to 5 and it's just going to change every time. If I update that to, so let's just test this. If I click this guy, okay, he's moving, okay, and it's going to change, this is moving by 5. If I change this to 10 and run it, it's actually moving faster now, okay, because now this is changing by 10. If I make it 20, okay, it's going much faster. And all that's happening is it's moving x. If I move by 5, 5, 5, 5 versus 10, 10, 10, 10 versus 20, 20, 20, 20, it's going to look like it's moving faster. All that's happening is the position is changing a bigger increment. Okay? All right, we're going to be using this to change speed. Okay? Laps is going to just record the number of times that we pass this position. Okay, and to do that, we need to create a bit of an if statement. Okay, that's going to be an if statement that is working in here. Okay, so we're going to be adding in as we check if this if statement is happening. Okay, if our x position is greater than 242, we then need to, if it is, we need to reset it and we need to update our laps. So we're going to go change laps by 1, okay, and we're also going to set our, no, not this one, we're going to set our speed to, and we want to make it speed, which is 5, plus something, okay, so we're going to put this down here, and I'm going to go to my operators, and I'm going to go the plus here, okay, I'm going to get this one, and I'm going to take my speed variable, so I'm going to say set speed to speed plus, and if I make it 1, every time that happens, every time we loop, it's going to increment our laps, our speed by 1, right? So let's watch this. So if I run this, it sets it to 5, and when it gets over here, it sets it to 6. And then 7. And now what's happening is it's going faster because the increment each step is increasing. So by the time this gets to 20, it's going pretty quickly. And all that's happening is in that time, it's moving 20 steps. Okay? And so this speeds up to the point that you can see. All right, now that actually happens pretty quickly. And so by trial and error, I figured out that a good number to increment by is actually 0.5. Okay, and then what happens is when I run it, it starts off at 5, and it's going to increment to 5, then 5.5, then 6, 6.5, and so on. Okay, and that actually works quite nicely. Okay, so we'll do that. Now you can play with this and try some variations, but that should be okay. All right, now we need to add in some control. So we've got, let's take a look at our list of things to do. So we've got our incremented score and laps. We've incremented our speed. We've got our bat moving from left to right and looping. So all of this is done. Okay, we used an if statement. And you'll come back and take a look at how we did each thing. And now we need to give the user some control. Okay, well, let's go to our arrows. We're going to change our arrow costume to be up. Okay, and I'm going to put it up here. And I'm going to duplicate this. And I'm going to call this one down and this one up. Okay, and we're going to do a couple things. I'm going to bring this guy down here. The up arrow okay, is going to have up as its default. I don't need this, and I don't need this, but I do need this. So I'm going to call this one up on, and this is going to be, actually no, I'm going to get rid of this. I don't need this. And I call this up off. Okay, and the reason that is if you look at the game, when I'm playing the game, the arrow only shows up when I'm pushing my up key. Okay, so it turns off, which is just, here you can see it, just an empty costume. Okay, that's our that's actually our default, and then when we click the arrow, it's going to switch to up on. Okay, we'll do the same thing with down. Let's change it to down. We don't need this. We don't need that. We don't need this. And we're going to duplicate this and delete it. We're going to call this one down on. I think I used a dash here. And down, oops, off. Okay, and I think I used, well, I used an underscore. Okay, so I just want to be consistent here, so I'm going to change these also to be dashes so that they're the same as this one. Okay, all right, so that's consistent. All right, so that's done. Go back to our code. And on our code, we need to now include some control. Okay, so let's go to our up arrow. And I sort of position these initially, but we can turn those on if we need to see where they are. But let's look at how we're going to get them to work. So the first thing we need to do here is we're going to reset their position when we get a restart broadcast. Okay, so we're going to say when I receive, and we're going to create a new message, restart. Okay, we're just going to switch to make sure that the costume that's being shown is off. Okay, in case the game had ended with the arrow on, we want to turn that off. Okay, so that's one thing we're going to do. And then we're also going to add in event that says to always be checking if the arrow, the up key is being pressed. So we're going to go to forever, and we're going to say we need an if statement. It's going to be an if else ifs. Okay, we're going to put that in here, and we're going to say we're going to go to sensing. Now this is something that we haven't done before, but it's pretty straightforward. Basically, we're adding some sensing or a control that pays attention to see if this sprite, the one that we're touching, is doing something. Okay, so we're going to say if, we're going to take a key, and we're going to say if the up arrow is pressed, okay, then we're going to do a couple things. We're going to switch our costume to up on, okay, and we're going to broadcast a message that's going to be called move up. Okay, and that we'll look at what that does in a minute. But first of all, we just need to know that that's going to happen. Otherwise, we're just going to leave this on. Switch costume to up off. Okay, and that's all we need to worry about for this section. Okay, so let's take a look. If I click this and I hit my up arrow, it's turning on and turning off when I'm done. It's always checking, and when I restart this, it's going to run. When I get a restart, which I haven't done yet, that's going to reset everything and its position and its costume. Okay, great. I'm going to pause that there, and I'm going to pick up our next video where we should wrap all of this up. See you soon.